In this video, we're going to go over the parts of the machine, the controls, and their functions. We'll start out with the feed tray. The feed tray has a scale to help measure and line up materials along with some side guides. It also has a press roller that lifts and lowers, and it's there to flatten out materials as they're going over the feed table. Feed table is actually hinged on this machine so that it raises up for easy loading, and that's going to expose the main rollers of the machine. The main rollers, these gray rollers right here, are the heart and soul of this machine. So the most important thing is not to get any knives or open blades near these rollers. They're made of a special silicone, and once you cut that silicone, it has to be replaced, and they're very expensive to replace. So that's why GFP provides a special knife that's a safety blade, and it's called a zippy knife, and it does have a changeable blade in there. It uses standard double-edged razor blades. So you never want to get any other type of knife near the rollers. If you don't have a zippy knife, use a scissors or something else, a letter opener, something with a closed blade on it. Next, we're going to go over the unwinds. You're going to have an unwind on the top and an unwind on the bottom. Those are also called supply shafts because that's where your supplies go. On the supply shafts, you're going to have brake assemblies, and these are what provides the tension for your supplies. They lift out, just lift out of the holder to be removed to add supplies to the machine. Same thing on the bottom. Then you're going to have a rewind. The rewind mounts right here in the front, and also there's one in the back, and what this is for is to rewind material. The one in the front here is typically used to rewind the waste paper off the back of the laminate, the release liner, and the one in the back is used to wind up finished product when you're doing roll-to-roll operations. You have a bar right here in the front, and that is actually a connecting rod. It's more of a part of the machine than it is part of the laminating process. It connects the hand wheel that raises and lowers the rolls from the right side here to the left side. So you don't ever want the laminating material to come in contact with this connecting rod. On the bottom, you're going to have, and it's going to be a bit hard to see in this video, but there's an idler bar down here, and what that does is act to help smooth out your bottom material as it's going into the laminator. Stored down here on the stand is a basket, a set of baskets, and what those are for, they mount right in a slot in the front of the feed table here, and they act as an auxiliary unwind position. In some applications, you're going to need a third place to put materials, and this acts as an auxiliary position to keep those materials from laying in the floor or laying on the table. The next thing we're going to go over is the controls on the machine. There are no controls on the left side of the machine as you're facing it, aside from the emergency stop. Emergency stop you have on the left and the right, and they get pressed in case of emergency, and to release them you just simply twist them. There's an arrow on top of them that tells you which way to twist them, and that's going to release it. If the machine is completely dead and will not do anything, most likely one of these has gotten inadvertently pushed while it's being moved around the shop or while you're operating the machine. On the front control panel here, you're going to have a run switch. Run makes the machine run. Foot actually makes the machine stop. It says foot right here, and then you're going to go over to foot pedal control, and that's going to be your manual feed control. The next switch over here is hot and cold. The machine is going to be able to be used with heat assist or completely cold, and that button there actually selects the heat or cold position. Then you've got forward and reverse. forward obviously makes the machine go forward, and that's going to be what you're going to use most of the time. Reverse is on the machine so that you can get a jam out if you happen to get a jam up in the machine, and it only works by foot pedal control. On the front of the machine here, we mentioned before that we have the press roller. Inside the press roller, there's a photo eye. If you look on your machine inside the cabinet, you'll probably see a little red light on there, and that works very similar to what you're going to be used to from your garage door opener. So if the machine is running and I get my hand too close to the rollers, it's going to automatically stop the rollers to keep me from hurting my hand, and then I'll have to stop and start again before the machine will begin to run again. The next set of controls up here, the one on the left, controls the heat setting, and that's actually just set by turning the heat on, getting it to the temperature that you want on the LCD display here, and then turning the temperature control down or counterclockwise until the ready light comes on. The control here is the speed control, and numbered from 1 through 5, and typically, especially when you're first learning how to use the machine, we recommend only running it on speed 2 and 3, and then once you become more comfortable with it, you can turn the speed up higher. On the side here, you have what we call the hand wheel. This is what raises and lowers the rollers, and it's marked on the side here up and down. And what that's going to do is set the roller gap, and also when you put the rollers down, that's going to be how you set the pressure. And when we start doing the applications, we'll show you how to set the pressure. A couple other things that I'm often asked on installations is in the back of the main rollers here, it's a little hard to see in this camera angle, but there's a little gray box, and I often get asked what that's for. That is actually the temperature sensor that gives you your LCD readout here. Down on the stand, there's a series of 4 holes on there, and a lot of times people think something is missing off of their machine. What that is for is actually for an auxiliary rewind position that's used for special applications like doing two-sided cold laminating. And also that's what this connector on the left side is for. Sometimes people ask, can I move the foot pedal control over to this connector? You cannot. It's actually a different connector, and the plug won't fit in it. Also, down in the stand, you've got some positions where you can store extra rolls, extra supplies. The supply shafts are available separately. They cost about $200, and some people like to keep more than one material spooled up for production, to increase production. Also, the stand has locking casters on it, and you'll know you have your machine put together right if the locking casters are in the front and the ones that don't lock are in the back. Coming around to the back side of the machine, there are a few controls back here. You have your main power on and off switch, and down below here you're going to have a set of fuses, and those are the motor fuses. They're on there in case the machine gets bound up. That'll blow a fuse rather than damaging any of the internal components of the machine. They take a standard tube type 2 amp fuse, and they rarely blow. You also have the controls for your auxiliary output rewind here. You've got a forward, reverse, and then you've got a button here that says combine and single. Combine means that when you turn the machine on and off, it's going to turn the rewinder on and off automatically. Single means that it will run independently by itself in case you just want to wind up materials and you're not laminating. And then you've got a speed control so that you can sync the speed of the laminator to the rewind assembly. Also, on the back side over here is a hanger, and you hang up your wrench that you're going to use to take the supplies on and off. This way you won't have to go hunting for it when you need it. And in the back of the stand, you're going to have a couple of more positions for extra supplies. There are going to be a few supplies that you need. Of course, you're going to need the wrench for taking the supply rolls on and off, and that hangs back in the back of the machine here. You're going to need a zippy knife or a pair of scissors or a letter opener to cut when you're cutting near the rollers. You'll need a utility knife, but again, you don't want to use this anywhere near the rubber rollers on this machine. A tape measure comes in handy. I recommend keeping 1-inch and 2-inch masking tape on hand, and you want some tape that's got some good stick to it. And then you're also going to need shop towels and rubbing alcohol. This is going to be used to clean the rollers. To clean the rollers on this machine, you're going to raise the feed table just to get it out of your way. The top roll, as long as it's in the up position, it'll roll freely. It's not driven. So you can just take a shop towel and you want to get it good and wet with alcohol, and then simply wipe down the roller with alcohol. The reason why we use alcohol to clean the rollers is that it completely evaporates, doesn't leave any residue behind, and we don't recommend using any other chemical on the rollers to clean them, because depending on what chemical it is, all it will do is either harden or soften that rubber that's on there. The bottom roll may be a little bit more difficult to get to, and it is also driven by the motor. So what you can do is get your cloth down below and you can feed it, roll it around with the foot pedal control to clean it off. And we do recommend cleaning the rollers every time you use the machine. Dust and debris is the #1 enemy of this process.